Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back all. This is our part 3 in our learning journey in managing storage devices. By the end of this video, you will be able to demonstrate your hands-on skills on using the command line diskpart.exe command to do the following tasks: initializing a storage device, creating the partitions on a storage device, and last but not least, formatting the partitions. This is just a rush recap from our previous videos. For any additional internal storage device you install in your computer, there are 3 tasks to be done before you start enjoying your storage device. The first task to initialize the storage device, and in this task you have to specify the partition style, either MBR or GPT. The second task is partitioning, and we have 2 types of partitions: primary partition and extended partition. And the last task is to format your partitions with a file system, and the most common file system used in Windows, the FAT family, FAT16, FAT32, EXFAT, and NTFS. We have covered in detail these tasks, and we explain all the technical information on our previous videos. So if you want more details and to understand this fully, it is highly recommended to watch the previous videos. The tools we use for managing these tasks: the first tool is Disk Management Console, which is a GUI console, and we cover this important tool in our previous video, so you can refer to the previous video if you want to learn how to use this powerful tool. There is the second tool, which is diskpart.exe. This is a command line interface that do the same tasks that you can do with Disk Management Console, but this is completely from the command line interface. So after this video, you will be familiar with 2 very important tools to manage your internal storage device: the Disk Management Console, which is a GUI tool, and the diskpart, which is a command line tool. So let us give a scenario as we did in the previous video. Let us assume we have a laptop or a desktop, and I have only one hard disk, internal storage device, and I am running out of space. So I decided to buy a new hard disk, 1 terabyte, and to start using that one. So this is exactly what I did. I purchased a 1 terabyte hard disk, internal hard disk. I connected to my computer, and I make sure that the power cable and the data cable are connected. And after I power on my PC and went back to File Explorer, unfortunately I am not seeing my new hard disk. So why is that? If you remember, we have to do the 3 tasks in managing the new internal storage device before you can start enjoying your device. So we will manage this in new 1 terabyte totally from the command line using the diskpart command. So using that command, we will set the partition style to MBR. If you remember, I choose MBR to show you how to create extended partition, because extended partition, as we discussed in our previous videos, can only be created in MBR. But the steps are exactly the same if you want to use GPT. On GPT, you are only using the primary partitions. But MBR, I will show you both primary partition and extended partition. So we will set the partition style to MBR. So this is the first task, initializing. Then I will partition my storage device into 6 partitions. 3 will be primary partitions. Then I will create an extended partition, and inside that extended partition, we will create 3 logical drives. So this is the second task, partitioning the internal storage device. Now, still we have to do the last very important step, is to format all my logical and partitions, logical drive and partitions that I created with the proper file system and labels. So after I do all these tasks, then my 1 terabyte new internal storage device will be shifted from this stage. As you can see with the black color, there is no storage device partitions, no partitions, no logical drive, so I cannot save and I cannot utilize my storage device in this status. But after we do all these 3 tasks with creating the 6 partitions, my hard disk will be looks like this. And these pictures, by the way, from I take a screenshot from disk management console. So those who did not watch the previous video, please do so, so that you know these pictures. As you can see, we have the first partition, second partition, third partitions. These are primary partitions. And then I created 1 extended partition, and inside it I created 3 logical drives. And as you can see, each partition or logical drive, it has a label, it has a drive letter, and also it has a file system. For example, here I have FAT, which means FAT16, FAT32, EXFAT, NTFS, EXFAT, NTFS. So after we do this, our storage device, I can enjoy it. So my file explorer will be shifted from this bad status to this very promising status. As you can see now, I can start saving my data files and on my newly installed hard disk, and this is all the partitions now appear in File Explorer, in addition to the partition where my operating system is installed. So this is exactly what we will do in our today videos, using totally the command line interface, using the very powerful diskpart command. So see you in the demonstration part. Thank you. Okay, welcome to the demonstration part. I have added my new internal hard disk, 1 terabyte hard disk, to my computer, and I switch on my PC. I sign in as a standard user. Now let me see if the Windows recognize my new 1 terabyte internal hard disk. I will go to the File Explorer, and then I will go to this PC. As you can see here, unfortunately, it did not show me here my new hard disk. It only show the old, the first hard disk where my operating system is installed. And by now, I think we know why, because still we did not finish setting up our new internal hard disk. We have to initialize it, partition it, then format it. Then after that, it will show here. So let us start. Now, those who watched the previous video, we used the disk management. Let me just recap fast here. If I press the logo key, then I start typing the command disk mgmt.msc. If you remember, we talk about this. Then I have to run this as an administrator. I simply can click run as administrator or simply Control Shift Enter. It asked me for administrator password, so I will type it. Of course, you don't see the prompt, but I can see it. Then you click yes. Now, as you know, disk management immediately recognize my new hard disk, and it gives me the first task to do, which is initializing. So, but we did this in the previous video, so I will say cancel here, because on this video we will not use the disk management, but we will use the disk part from the command line interface. But normally when I do this experiment, I run this disk management so that you know the whole picture. So as you can see, if I maximize it, it shows me here, this is my disk 0, this is the original hard disk where my operating system is installed, and this is my new hard disk. As you can see, it has no partition with a black color, and also here it's telling me that it's not initialized with the red mark here. We explained this in our previous video. So we will start with the command prompt to do all these things using the diskpart command. But let me, as I did in the previous video, I will go to the view, top, graphical, then again view, button, hidden, so that I can see only the graphical part. Now I am ready to go to the command prompt and start my diskpart command. Now I will hit the logo key, then I type cmd and I press enter. Now, as you know, this is my command prompt. Now I am ready to start using the diskpart. So the command is diskpart.exe. Normally you don't need to type .exe, but normally I type it so that you know the extension. Now look what happened now when I press enter. It will ask me to provide administrator password, because now currently I am logged on as a standard password, and this command will not work with a standard account. You need to have administrator account. So let us see what will happen now. Okay, it prompt me for a administrator password. You don't see the prompt, but I can see it. But if I don't provide my administrator password, look what happened here. It tell me that access is denied. So it's not allowing me to go inside this command because I am standard and I need to be administrator. So just I wanted to show you how you will get an error message if you try to run the diskpart as a standard user. So let me close the command prompt again, and this time I will press the start menu, and I type cmd, but this time I will not click hit enter. I will hit instead of Control Shift Enter, or I can hit this run as administrator. So I will hit Control Shift Enter. It asks me for a password for administrator, so I will provide my administrator password. Then I say okay, yes. You see now it show now that I am running the CMD as an administrator. As you can see here, it shows me that you are administrator. You are running this as administrator. Okay, now one thing, so I will change the color. I will type this 0A. I like this color because this color was the original for the command prompt. So now let me type CLS, which is clear screen, so that we start. Now we will run the diskpart, and we will do all the tasks from inside the command prompt, not from the disk management. We did this in the previous video. So those who want to know how to manage the internal storage from disk management, the GUI, they can watch the previous file. But this video we will use all commands from the command prompt. So the first is to type diskpart, and by the way, diskpart stands for disk partitions. Now look what will happen when I press enter. Yeah, it go inside the diskpart. Now I have a new prompt, and it's waiting me to type commands. These commands that I will type are a special type of commands, only will work if you are inside the disk part. If you are not inside the disk part, these commands will not work. Now, after you finish, for example, the disk part and you want to quit, you simply type exit and you press enter. Now it sends you back to the normal command prompt that we know. So this is, let me clear screen again and type disk part again and press enter. Now I am inside the disk part and ready to see and to start partitioning, initializing, partitioning, and formatting. Now, normally the first command we type inside the disk part is list disk. Now, what do you think, my friends, if I press enter from the name of the command, list space disk, if I press, it will show me the list of all the hard disks that I have in my computer. Now I know that already I have two here, so but let us see them how they will show up inside the disk part. So press enter. Yeah, you see now it shows me that you have two hard disks, disk 0 and disk 1, and already we know this, yeah. But here this is how it shows them inside the disk part, and this is how they show in the disk management. So I have disk 0. This is my original hard disk, and I have disk 1. Of course, all the work that I will do is in disk 1. So the first thing, I have to make sure that I select disk 1 so that any command now I will type will affect disk 1 and it will not affect disk 0. So I will simply, how do I select disk 1 in disk part inside here? There is a command called select space disk space, and now you type the number of the disk that you want to work. In my case, I want to work with disk 1, which is this one. Yeah, so I simply type 1 and press enter. You see, it gives me a message that it says to me disk 1 is now the selected disk. So this means any command now I will start typing, it will affect disk 1 and it will not affect disk 0. Now, to make sure that disk 1 is selected, again I can issue the same command list disk, but let us see now. Yeah, you see now there is a star here. There is a star here. This indicates that disk 1 is the disk that is selected now. So whatever command I type now, it will affect disk 1. Now you may ask me, what about this star? This star here, as you can see, it's under the GPT. This gives me an indication what is the partition style for disk 0. So for disk 0, if there is a star here, this means it is GPT initialized. But for the disk 1, I don't have any star here. This either means it is not initialized or it is initialized but with WinBR. So there is a big difference between this star and this star. This star, it indicates you which disk is selected. Now if I want to go and I work with disk 0, I can use the same command here, select disk, and if I type 0 and I press enter, now if I say list disk, press enter, you see now the star is next to the disk 0. So this means whatever command I type now, it will affect disk 0. But I want to work with disk 1, so I will, of course, you can press the arrow key, the upper arrow key. You can recall the previous command, and I will type here select disk 1 again. So it says me select the disk 1 is now selected. Let me just to make sure, yeah, list disk, excellent. You see now the star is here. Now the first task to do is to initialize the disk 1, and I want to initialize it as MBR. How do we do this in disk part? There is a command called convert space, then you type the partition style you want. I want it MBR. Now if I press enter, it will initialize the disk 1, which is this one, to MBR. If you want to initialize it with GPT, very simple. You just remove this, you type GPT. As simple as that one. But because I want to show you how to create extended partition, and extended partition is only available in MBR initialized hard disk, so I will type convert MBR, and I am ready to hit enter. Now I want from you to notice what will happen here. Whatever command I will apply now, it will be reflected here so that you can see its effect directly. Now when I press enter, what will happen? This red mark will disappear, then not initialize will disappear also, and I will have instead online. So this means the hard disk is initialized. Let us see. I press enter. You see, it says to me here, disk part successfully converted the selected disk to MBR format. That's excellent. And also, as you see, that red mark disappear, and it's ready. So I finished the first task, initializing the hard disk. Now, the next task is to create the partitions. Okay? So how do I create the partition? If you remember, we want to create this, let us see here. I have a picture here, sorry. We want to create these partitions. The first partition is a primary, the second is a primary, the third is a primary. Then the rest of the storage device will be extended, and inside the extended, I will create the logical drives. So we will see exactly how we do this in the disk part. So the first partition I want to create, I want to see the size. The size here, although it says 2.93, but for simplicity, I will assume it is 3 gigabyte. So we will start creating this, and the type of the partition is primary. So let us see how we do this. Let me minimize that one. There is a command known as create, then partition. Then you specify the type of the partition. You say primary, then space, then you type the size equal. Now here you have to specify the size in megabyte. So I want to create the first partition, which is 3 gigabyte. So it's almost equal 3000. I will type here 3000 because I have to type that in megabyte. So 3000 here mean 3 gigabyte. So I think the command is now ready to be executed. You see, very simple to understand. Create space, of course, partition space primary. This is the type of the partition I want to create, and the size is 3000 megabyte, which is almost equal to 3 gigabyte. So now let me just a little bit here. Now let us see what will happen when I press enter. I want from you to see it will be reflected here. So I will press enter now. Yeah, you see it says to me here, disk part succeeded in creating the specified partition, and it is this one. So this is my first partition. As you can see, although I type here 3000, but here it takes some space for the partitions. So don't worry about this. So you can imagine it is almost 3 gigabyte. And here, as you can see, it says raw. Raw means there is no file system. In other words, it's not formatted. So I just created the partition, and it is a primary, but still I did not format it. This is the last step we will do. Once I format it, instead of raw, it will show you the file system. Is it FAT, FAT16, FAT32, EX, FAT, NTFS? We will see this. But now I just finished creating my first partition. Now I want to create the second partition. Let's go to the picture and see what partition we will create. Yeah, this one. Again, it's a primary. And the size, I think 16 giga. Oh, sorry, 20 giga, almost 20 giga. So let us, again, I can press the upper arrow key. Now here, I simply will type 20,000 because I wanted 20 gigabyte. So it's 20,000. So the same command, create partition primary, and this is the command, size equal So let us see now when I press enter what will happen. What will happen here? Excellent. So you see it create the second primary partition, and this is almost 20 gigabyte, and it is raw. Raw mean it's not formatted. Okay, no problem. Now I am in the second task, which is just creating the partition. Then after we create all the partitions, we will format them. Excellent. So let us now, again, let me go to that picture. So we finish this. Now let us come to this third partition. Again, it's a primary, and the size almost 60 gigabyte. If you pay close attention here, 60 gigabyte. Okay. So again, I will press the arrow key, and here I will change only the size, 60,000 megabyte, which is almost 60 gigabyte. So you see the same command, create partition primary size equal. Okay, now once I press enter, again please pay attention what will happen here. You see now again it create my third partition primary and 60 gigabyte, and it's not formatted. That's excellent. So we have finished creating the first three primary partitions. Now we will create, I believe from here, the picture, we will, the rest of the space of the hard disk, this whole, I will create my first extended partition. This is with the dark green. Then after that, inside it, I will create the logical drives. So let me minimize this. This means that this whole space, which is almost 850 gigabyte, so I want the whole this one to create it as an extended partition. So how do I do this? Well, we have the same command. I will say here, create partition. But this time I will not type primary, I will type extended. Again, I will say size equal. Now I have to type this number. But sometimes it is easy if you don't type. If you don't type the size, for example, if I remove this and I press enter, this means please create a partition extended and take the whole space. So it's easier not to specify the size. So whenever you create a partition and you don't specify the size, this means you are asking the computer to take the whole space and convert it to. So let us see now what will happen. Yeah, you see now what happened. It created the whole partition here, extended. This is dark blue, dark green. And inside it, it says to me, you have a free space. Free space, as we said, it is almost like this one, unallocated. But inside the extended partition, it showed it as a free space. So in other words, although I have the extended partition, but still I don't have any inside, any logical drive, any subpartitions. So this is how I create the extended partition. Now I will create the first logical drive on the extended partition. Let's go to the picture and see. Yeah, here. So the first logical drive inside the extended partition will be this one, and it will be logical drive, and it's almost how much? 500 gigabyte. 500 gigabyte. Okay. So let us see how we do this one. I will type here create, again partition, but this time I will type logical. Why? Because inside the extended partition, normally we call the subpartition as a logical. Then again, size equal. If you remember, we needed 500 gigabyte, so this means I will type 500, then 30. Because the unit, don't forget the unit is in megabyte here. So I type 500, then 30. Now let me press enter. Excellent. You see now, it says here, it's created. This is the first partition, the logical drive inside the extended partition. And here is telling me that diskpart succeeded in creating the specified partition. Excellent. Now I left with two logical drive. Let us see what are these. Sorry, not this one. So I finished this one. Let's come here. What is the size you think I should use? It is almost 200 gigabyte. So again, I will do the same thing. I will press the arrow, upper K. What was the size? Sorry. Okay, 200. I wanted 200 giga. So I will type here 200. If you just keep it like this, it will be 200 megabyte, but I wanted 200 gigabytes, so I will add 3 zeros. And you press enter. Yeah, excellent. So you see now, I have just finished creating my second logical drive in my extended partition. Now, I want to create the third logical drive, and it will take the whole space. Whatever space is left, I want it to take it. So in that case, I will use the same command, create partition logical, but I will not specify the size. I simply type create partition logical. So without the size, this means take the whole size, whatever size left without any partition, please take it and put it part of the logical drive. So let us see what will happen now when I press enter. Yeah, excellent. You see now it created the logical drive. Now my hard disk, all the partitions are created. You see how easy is that? So now I have 3 primary partitions and I have 1 extended partition. Inside it we have 3 logical drives. But as you can see, all are raw because they are not formatted. Now I will start formatting these partitions. Now the format is very simple. Let me see what format should I do for the first one. And now for formatting, I have to do this for each partition or logical drive. So let us see here. Yeah, for the first partition here, it says to me the file system is FAT. FAT without any number, this means it is FAT16. Okay, FAT32, EXFAT, NTFS, EXFAT, and NTFS. So let us start with the first partition. I want to format it as FAT16, which is FAT. So again, how do I, what is the command to format? Well, there is a very simple format. Then I have to specify the file system equal. This is how I specify the file system. And here I type FAT16. Then I can type the label. Here label equal. The label, if you remember, it is the name. Let me see what's the name. Google. Okay. So I will type here Google. Then space. Then you type here. If you quick format, so that it doesn't take time for so that the video is not too long. But this is how the command format. Then you specify the file system equal FAT16. By the way, I just type FAT16, but I just type it in purpose. If you press enter, it will give you an error because it doesn't recognize FAT16 as a keyword. If you wanted FAT16, simply you type just FAT. You don't need to type FAT16. Okay. Now, format file system equal FAT. Okay. Label equal Google. Then space. Then you type quick. Quick mean it will not. If you remember from the previous video, I explained it, and the previous 2 videos, the full and the quick. So if I want it quick, you just type quick. If you want it full format, simply you remove the quick. That's it. Without a quick, this means it is implicitly it's full. But I will type it quick again, so that doesn't take time. Now my command is ready, but the question is, if I enter, which partition will be formatted? This is the question. Will it format the first one, or the second, or the third? So again, before I do the format, I want to make sure which partition is now selected. As we did this for the hard disks themselves, again, I have a command, it's called select or list partition. It shows me the list of the partitions I have on disk 1 and which one is currently selected. Let us see. So before I type this one, let me delete it. So I will type here list par, sorry, list partition. Now let us see what will happen. Press enter. Oh, sorry, what's that? Par, okay, I have an error. It gave me an error message. List partition, yeah. You see, when you type this command, list partition, it shows you all the partition on disk 1. You see, this is the partition 1, and this is the primary, and this is the size, it is this one. And it's here is partition 2. Again, the type is a primary. It is this one. Partition 3. It is this one. Now look here. Partition 0. It is the extended partition. So it is the whole, this partition. The dark green. Now inside it, I have partition 4. It's logical. And this is the side, it is the first one in the extended partition. And this is the second, it is this one. And this is the third inside the extended partition. So this is the logically derived, the last one in the extended partition. And this is what was the last one I created. Now what I want from you to pay attention is that you see this star is next to partition 6 logically derived, which is this partition. So this means currently this is the selected partition. So if I type that command format and I press enter, it will format that one. You get the point? So, but I want to start formatting from the first partition, which is this one. So how do I remove this star to the first one? Again, as we did in the disk, there is a command called select, then here partition, you type that partition number, so I will type 1, which is this one, okay, which is the first one. Then I press enter, and as you can see, it says to me here partition 1 is now the selected partition. Now to make sure, again, I can type list partition, and press enter. Excellent. You see now the star is next to partition 1. This means partition 1, which is this one, is now selected. So whatever command now I will type for the partition, which will be applied for that one. So now let us start formatting. Again, I will format space, then file system equal. This is how we type. Then fat. Remember, I wanted fat 16, but you don't write 16 here, just fat. Then the label equal Google. Then I want it quick. Now let us see what will happen. I will press enter. You will see here what will happen now when I finish entering. So let us see. Excellent. You see now it says here fat. It converted from raw to fat, and it has the label. And even it says to me here 100% completed, disk part successfully formatted, the volume. The volume, we said it is like the partition. Now, what left is I want to assign it a drive letter. I want to assign it a drive letter. Currently, it has no drive letter here. So let us see the picture. I want to give it a G as a drive letter, G. So how do I assign a drive letter to this partition so that I can see it in File Explorer? There is a command called assign letter and then equal, and you just type whatever letter you want with the column mark, with the column here, assign space letter equal G, and press enter. Yes, okay. You see it recognize it and it open in File Explorer. Let me close this one, and you see now it assigned the drive letter. So my first partition is now fully complete. Now I will do the same thing for the second partition. Now, can you tell me how do I select the second partition? Again, if we say list partition, press enter. Now I want to shift this star to partition 2. So if you remember, there is a select. Okay. By the way, you can abbreviate select, only just type cell and then partition. Again, the partition itself, sorry. The partition, again, it can be abbreviated as par. So you can, instead of select partition, you can say cell par space, and I want to select number 2. So this command means select partition number 2. So let me see enter. Now you see it's telling me now partition 2 is selected. But if you want to make sure that it is selected, if you remember, I will type list partition is it correct partition here? No, I think there is something. Okay, and I press enter. Again, by the way, you can abbreviate instead of list, you can type without list here, without T, and partition, instead of typing the whole word, you just simply type par. List par. So this is a shortcut for list partition. So let me press enter. Yeah, now the star is next to the partition 2, which is this one. So now I am ready to format it. But let me see here what's the label and the file system. So the label is Microsoft and the file system is FAT32 and the drive letter is M. Okay, so let us see here. Okay, so the same thing, I will type here format space file system equal. This time I will type FAT32 because this is what we want our partition. Then the label equal Microsoft, and again I will type here quick so that it doesn't take time. If you want full format, you just don't type quick. So let me try. Now let us see what will happen when I press enter, and let us see what will happen here. Excellent. You see, it formatted FAT32 and it says here Microsoft. So the last thing is to assign it a drive letter. I think I already typed that command, so I will press the upper arrow key 1 or 2 times. Yeah, and until I come to this command. But this time, instead of G, I will type M and press enter. Yeah, excellent. So it's recognized it and it open File Explorer. Let me close that one. You see now it finished. Now let us go to the third and see what we will do. So let me see here the third. Yeah, the third we will format it EXFAT and the label is Apple and the drive letter is A. Okay. So again, I will type here list. Let us just give a shortcut list bar. So I want to shift that one to the partition 3. So I will say cell bar 3, enter. Again, to make sure, I will say less bar, which stands for list partition. Yeah, excellent. Now the star is next to the partition 3, which is this one, and I am ready now to format. Again, format, file system. This time I need it to be exFAT, and the label. What was the label? Let me check here. Yeah, Apple. Okay. So the label equal Apple, and I want to quick format. So I am ready to press. Yeah, excellent. Now I just want to assign it a drive letter, and we will give it A, and press enter. Yeah, excellent. So we have finished the third primary partition. Let us continue. Let us see what we have here. Yeah, now I finished the first three. Now we will come to the first logical drive inside the extended. Okay, we will NTFS, and the label is Intel and I, the drive letter. Okay. So what do you think here? Should I, okay, let us say less bar to make sure that. Now I want to format this one. Which one you think should I bring the star to it? Of course, not partition 0. Partition 0, this one is the whole extended partition. Normally, we don't format the whole extended partition. We format the individual logical drive. And this is, I want to format this one. So this means it is partition 4, the first logical drive inside the extended partition. So if very simple, I will say cell bar 4, enter. It says to me partition 4 is selected, but to make sure, I will just game one more time, this bar. You see now the star is next to the partition 4, the first logical drive, which is this one. Now I am ready to format it. Format, and the file system is equal, I think, NTFS, and the label. What was the label? Let us just make sure. Okay. Intel. You see Intel. Okay, Intel. And let us make it quick and press enter. Yeah, excellent. It says to me disk part successfully formatted, and here, and the left is to assign a letter, so I will use the arrow, and I will type here I with 2 dots, enter. Excellent. You see now it's finished the first one here. Now sometimes it doesn't show the drive letter here, so sometimes you may need to refresh the disk management. If I go to the action and refresh, yeah, it shows again here. So let me bring back here again. Now we will go to the second one again. So I hope by now you know how to work around. So let us say less bar. So we want to shift it to partition 3. So I will say partition 5, cell bar 5, which is the second partition, this one. But to make sure, again, I will say less bar. Yeah, so the star is now into partition 5. Now again, I will format it, but let us see the picture here. We will format it exFAT and Lenovo, the drive letter. The label and the drive letter is L. So I will type here format file system equal exFAT, and the label is Lenovo, and I will type here quick. I think the command is complete, so let us press enter. Yeah, excellent. Disk part successfully formatted. It's formatted. Now we will assign it a drive letter. Assign letter. Sorry. equal, I think it was L, or I can use the upper arrow, but let us press enter. Yeah, excellent. And now I think the last partition. So again, let's bar, let us make sure. So I will shift it to cell bar. What do you think? 6, yeah? Okay, to make sure this bar. Every time I make sure before I do the formatting, because you may lose your data if you format a different partition. So the star is next to the partition 6. This is the last, this one. So now I am ready to format, but let us see the picture here, what type of format we need in TFS. And the label is HP. Okay, format space file system equal in TFS and the label equal HP and quick. Again, if you don't want to do quick format, simply quick, you don't type the quick. Press enter. You see it's formatting now here. Yeah, excellent. So now I will assign it the drive letter. Let me go bring that. Yeah, and I type here H. Assign letter H and press enter. Excellent. So as you can see, my friends, after we finish all the tasks using the disk part, my hard disk, the additional internal storage device, which is 1 tera now, is fully utilized and all the partitions are ready to receive, and you can start saving data on these things, on these partitions. Now, after you finish from the disk part, we just finished, you simply, if you remember, you just write exit. Now it exits from the disk part, it comes back to the command prompt, again exit. Next time from the command prompt, it will close the command prompt. Again, now if I close the disk management, now what do you think if I go to my computer or to File Explorer? We will see all the partitions. Are you ready? Let us see. Are you ready to see it? Okay. Oh, very excellent. You see, this is how your computer now see your hard disk. This is my original hard disk where my operating system is stored, and all these partitions now are the new partitions from my new internal storage device. So again, if I want to save any file, simply I double click any one and I can start save any data, and I am fully utilizing my hard disk. So what we did is an excellent job. Now my hard disk, additional hard disk, is ready to be used, and we did all the tasks: partitioning, formatting, initializing, partitioning, formatting, all from the very powerful command diskpart.exe. And in the previous video, we finished the disk management. We did the same, exactly the same thing, but using the GUI disk management. And this video, we use the command line diskpart command to do the same thing. So now you are familiar with both way to manage your internal storage device. I hope this video and demonstration is very helpful for you, and we will continue our learning series and to see many other options using these tools. So till our next video, please accept my respect to you, and be safe. See you. Okay, till next video, please stay safe. Thank you.